Hello, my name is Blake. I live in Albion, Maine, and I moved here about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, and I'm working on my homestead. Ultimately, I'd like to have a barn out here. We'll have cows, pigs, chickens. We just have a newborn, so we're slowly getting there. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to do a homestead, best practices, and I'm kind of doing my own thing up here. A lot of videos that I'm watching aren't people in Maine. We have a very unique climate, as a lot of people know. I've had a hard time finding YouTube videos that specifically suit my needs. So I decided to kind of come up with my own method, and I'm going to walk you through the fruits of my labor. I decided to do, it's kind of like a timber frame barn. It's a 38 by 42 foot building, 12 foot tall. It's not going to be the traditional timber frame because it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and honestly, I just don't have that much time. So, I do have a sawmill. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I've milled out. A lot of the stuff came off my property, but I've been saving up wood for years. And I've been milling out stuff as I go. So as you can see, I got some 6x6 here. I have lots of 10-inch wide boards. I got some 2x6, some 2x4. So these 6x6, they're pretty much all spruce. There's a couple pine in there. Those are going to be my uprights. About a year ago, I bought those trusses. I got a really good deal on them, so I couldn't pass it up. Those are 42 foot long trusses. There's 22 of them. That's gonna be what I use for my barn. Those are attic trusses, so they actually have a little bit of space in the attic. So the hardest part, I think, about trying to figure out how I was gonna do this building is how to do it by myself. My father is a contractor. He owns a construction company, so he's kind of helped me a lot in the planning stages of this and making recommendations of best practices. But he lives about almost 2 hours away, so he's not always able to come out and help me. So I've had to try to plan how to do this by myself, and I'll kind of walk you through what I've come up with. So I do have a little tractor here, a little backhoe, and then I have an excavator. I know a lot of people don't have an excavator. You can rent these pretty easily. I'll try and walk you through of good times to rent these. So what I've done on my barn, I decided to do a pressure treated sill. The other option is concrete, but they just frankly wanted way too much money to do a concrete slab. And the way things are here in 2022, kind of trying to save our money, plus the new baby, so we got a lot of expenses. So I'll walk you through how I did this. I know it's kind of late and I've already finished it, but I didn't decide to start recording this until now. But anyway, the best way to do this way anyway, that I've found, is, as you can see, there's concrete columns in there on the bottom of all of them. I'll zoom in there. So there's a concrete post. There's a concrete post. So those are 5-foot columns. They have a very wide base. They're 16 inches at the base, and they come right up to a 6x6 at the top here. And then there's a metal box that goes on top of that a 6x6 pressure treated post can sit in. Now the best way to do this that I found, as I struggled a lot, but I did do this by myself, is you dig a long trench the whole length of one side. Now you do need a transit for this. I can show you what a transit looks like a little bit later. So what I did is I dug that long trench, and then I set these posts, and I made sure that they were 5 feet deep. And then as you can see, I get string everywhere. This is just twine. It'll degrade and decompose. There's quite a bit hanging around here. So use that twine to set on this side and ran down the length to the other side. That's how I made sure that it was nice and straight the whole way. So with these post bases, the metal post bases that you have a couple inches of play. And I'll show you what I mean. So here you can see that it's not quite centered over the column, but it's all right. Ideally, it would be perfect. And then the other advantage to the post bases is that this one shows you that they don't have to be perfectly square. They can be, the concrete columns can be a little bit twisted, and you can attach your metal post base right onto that. So once I had that all dug, You know, you guys can figure out how to set your own posts, but you shovel in a little dirt and then you dump dirt right on top of that. They get set in with an eye bolt and a chain. You can do it with a tractor or an excavator. So once you have all those done and buried, then you just need to check your square. So you measure diagonally, measure your sides, make sure that it's the right dimensions. So once you have all your posts in, the height of the posts, you got a lot of play there, to be honest. So I'll show you what I mean there. So over here, you see I have a very tall post here, and then a very shorter one there. I hit a rock on that one, a giant rock way down at the bottom, and I didn't want to dig all that out because I would have lost a lot of soil. So anyway, so you have a lot of play with height. As you can see, they're not all the exact same, but they're all fairly close, relatively speaking. So once you do that, you can set your 6x6 posts. This one, you set that in here. Usually you want to keep it nice and long, because then you take a transit to make sure they're all the same height. That corner up there is actually the corner I based everything off. That's a 10 inch high over there, and then all of them match that one. So use a transit to mark a line. Now, as you can see, this isn't perfectly square. It's a little bit at an angle, and that's okay. That's where the transit and a level comes in. Once you hit your transit mark, then you take a level and you mark all four sides with a level, and then you cut it off on those four sides and put it in there, and that's what gives you a nice flat top here for the 6x6 post to sit on top of. So once you've done all of those, then you need to use a joinery system. I chose an 8-inch overlap for the bottom. Every joint in this particular build has a post underneath it. I'll show you the plan a little bit later that I've drawn. So I used 5/8 carriage bolts to come through, and these washers are a version of a lock washer. I don't know if you can see it or not, but they crush the thread as they go on, so they don't come off very easily. And that'll help. It'll stay there for a very long time. I ordered these online from boltsdepot.com. They're awesome. They come, you order them, they're a lot cheaper than Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you go, and they ship them in a couple days. So it's awesome, and they have just everything. I just can't even tell you how much they have. But anyway, check them out. So then I use these metal plates. This is a lot faster method than the other method. If I didn't choose to do this method, I would have to have my overlap a lot wider, maybe like a 12, and then I could have done a tongue coming up through and cut out a pocket in the top, and then that'll set on tear like that. The reason I didn't do it that way, it takes you have to be perfect with your bases, and it's very difficult to get these bases perfectly by yourself. It's a lot of getting in and out of the excavator, to measure, double check, make sure that they're all the same. So that's the method that I went with. And my ends, I just used large 4-inch screws. I had to drill a hole down in there because they're only 4-inch. Of course, these are 6-inch posts. So those are screwed in there, and then I have a plate on it as well. So before I did any of this, I set my conduit and my water line. This goes, it's like 4.5, 5 feet down, and it runs all the way underneath that door up there. So my water line, this has some heating wire on it. That was my mother's recommendation, actually, for their barn that they have. They had water, the freezing issue, so they dug out and wrapped some heat wire on that. So that heat wire actually ends up going about 4 feet down. So in the winter, if I want water out here, plug that in, turn that on, and I don't have to worry about my water freezing. So that's pretty much it for my sill. The next step here is to get gravel brought in. I need quite a bit of gravel, as you can see. My plan with that gravel is to come right up, pretty much close to the top. And that's going to be on the outside as well as the inside. Level it off, check those transit. And then after that, once I do that, then I'm going to use those pine pine and hemlock, actually pine and spruce 6x6. I'll set those upright. There's going to be one above each post, and then in between those two posts, and we'll have some 2x6 every 2 feet. So my trusses are going to be set 2 foot on center. So essentially every truss will have its own support, whether it's a 6x6 or a 2x6. Once I have those 2x6s up, I'm going to put some horizontal 2x4 on, and that's what's going to catch my 10-inch wide pine boards when I put those on. It's going to be board and batten, so board and bats siding. Like I said, it is going to be 12 feet tall. Once I get all that done, then I can put the trusses on. And I decided that due to prices of plywood and other building materials, it's just not reasonable to do asphalt. So I'm going to be doing a metal roof. I mean, if I did asphalt, I'd have to get all the plywood, which is, God, like 70, 80 bucks a sheet, which I'm not willing to spend that much. So I'll mill out my own strapping and put my own strapping on, and then I'll probably do the metal roof myself. And we'll start building here pretty soon, as I get gravel. The roads are still posted, so I'm waiting for those to become unposted before I can have my guy bring some gravel. So I'll try and keep you guys in the loop. I'll try and record things as they go from now on, just so people can see how I do it. I've kind of, like I said, I've watched a lot of videos. Nothing really spoke to me as to what I want to do exactly. And a lot of it was with a lot of help or a lot of pieces of equipment. Like I said, I do have an excavator. However, you can pretty easily rent one for a day or even a week. You know, I didn't really need the excavator this whole time. I really only needed it to dig my 2 trenches. Excuse me, my 4 trenches to set my posts. I did set the posts with the excavator. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm sorry I didn't record myself actually building it. You only got the end result. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write. I'll get back to you. Stay tuned. The next couple videos, probably gonna do some upgrades to gardens this year. So we have several raised beds, so we're gonna add some and then make some modifications and definitely some improvements that I hope you guys will like. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well, and I look forward to making more videos.